In the last few weeks, there have been huge demonstrations in the centre of Islamabad. Tens of thousands of people have taken to the streets, and in recent days a number of people have been killed as these protests have turned violent. What the protesters are calling for is the resignation of Prime Minister Sharif and his government. The protesters are made up of two different groups. One group is the supporters of an opposition cleric called Mr. Qadri, who wants to see Prime Minister Sharif facing murder and terrorism charges. The other is a supporter of a leading opposition called Imran Khan, who is the leader of a major political group and who claims that last year's elections were rigged. So both of these protesters come together in their desire to see this government fall. Both the supporters of Imran Khan and Mr. Qadri are made up primarily of youth, of young Pakistanis who are very angry about the situation in the country, particularly about the very weak, collapsing economy and the lack of economic opportunities, about the rising insurgency and deep insecurity, about lack of public services, and about weak and corrupt governance. And in fact, all of these problems have become worse in the years since Mr. Sharif took office. Mr. Qadri and Imran Khan have both been able to present themselves as different to Pakistan's normal, traditional political elite, who are known to be very corrupt and ineffective, and that's why they've been able to have some popular appeal. However, they haven't been able to draw the numbers of people that they promised to the streets, and it seems that while they do have a significant following, in fact the majority of the Pakistani population prioritise stability over a new round of political instability and crisis. The current crisis is likely to undermine democratic consolidation in Pakistan. What we've seen is it's basically weakened the hand of civilian powers and strengthened the hand of the military. In fact, some commentators are suggesting that the military are behind these protests and referring to this as a soft coup in which the military have been able to take a lot more power. Pakistan's military has always been the most powerful institution in national life, and it's long dominated political and economic life, but recently has taken more of a backseat since the return to democracy some years ago. But this particular crisis has offered an opportunity for the military to step back again more into the political centre. The military have offered to mediate between the different political groups, between the protesters and the government, and apparently has also struck a deal with Mr. Sharif that the military won't remove him from power as a response to the crisis if he's willing to cede to them more control over security and foreign policy. This shift of power from the civilian to the military can also be seen in the fact that Sharif has asked the military to take control of security in central Islamabad, basically accepting that the civilian authorities can no longer control the situation. Political turmoil and further strengthening of Pakistan's military is only going to be bad news for security in the region. Prime Minister Sharif had made some initial attempts to reach out both to India and to Afghanistan and try to improve relations with both countries. These are attempts that the army had opposed. And in fact, we know that Pakistan's military for many years has been supporting insurgents operating in both India and Afghanistan. Particularly with the withdrawal of forces from Afghanistan at the end of this year, there's really a risk that an emboldened Pakistani military might take further steps to support both the Afghan Taliban and the Haqqani network and other insurgents operating inside Afghanistan, and particularly if they see Afghanistan and India coming together and becoming closer allies. But perhaps the deepest challenge in terms of security is if continued political turmoil and upheaval prevents Pakistan from developing both politically into a fully fledged democracy and economically into a viable economic state, then it will continue to present in the long term a security challenge for its whole region.